Hey Christian, this is Chris Grenier from America Homes, and I received your email this morning. You gotta excuse me, I'm getting over a cold after visiting Boston, Massachusetts, with the 0-degree temperatures up there. Kind of got to me a little bit, but back at work after the new year, and like I said, I received your email this morning, and there are a lot of good questions in there, particularly regarding that property that I sent you on 9292 Baton Rouge Drive. Now, your questions are very straightforward, very simple, and they're very common as well, too. So rather than writing a very long email, I figured it'd be a little bit more appropriate to kind of send you a quick video message and help answer them for you. So your first question is tell you a little bit more about the neighborhood and probable tenants. So this neighborhood particularly, it's in Orlando, Florida, as I mentioned. It's in Metro Orlando, which is centrally located next to not only downtown, but particularly Windermere and Dr. Phillips, which are some of the most exclusive areas, if not the most exclusive areas in Central Florida. Those are where your local celebrities and athletes and big shot doctors and lawyers live. Now, this neighborhood particularly is very popular for people working in the healthcare industry. I looked up the demographics, particularly in the hospitals such as nurses or medical assistants, dental hygienists. There is a large percentage of people who work in the entertainment and arts industry, obviously working in Walt Disney World, Universal Studios, SeaWorld, all of the hundreds of thousands of different jobs in the area that are attached to the tourist industry. Now, the average median household income in this neighborhood, in that area particularly, is about $50,000 to $55,000, which is a little bit above the average median income for all of the country as a whole. So, particularly when they look for tenants, there are, as I mentioned on the phone to you, there are four things that they look for. One of them, they have to have good previous landlord referrals. Two, they have to have proof of income, aka a job. Three, they have to have a good credit score. Typically, they look for a credit score over 600. Now, in America, credit scores are based between 200 and 830 being perfect credit. And then finally, they have to be able to provide a first month and a security deposit. So when somebody can qualify on all four of those points, then at least on paper, they are as quality of a tenant as you could possibly receive. Now, your next question was regarding the owners. Who are they? Do they live in themselves, or was this an investment property? Why are they selling? So this property particularly, like all of the properties that we offer, was a foreclosure property. So what happens is these large asset management companies go to the banks and they buy foreclosures in bulk from the banks. That's where they get very good deals from. So they'll buy properties anywhere from maybe 20 to 50 a month, ranging from small one-bedroom condos to million-dollar lake homes. However, we have exclusive access to their properties that fit the most high-yielding investment route that we focus on. So what they'll do is they'll put a few properties aside every so often that we're able to exclusively offer to our end user, such as yourself. Now, they go in there after it's in foreclosure and they completely renovate it from top to bottom, as you saw the photos. So it has brand new carpet, interior paint, new fixtures, obviously updated landscaping and plumbing and electrical. The appliances are updated or refinished or replaced if necessary. Obviously, the air conditioner, the roof, everything in the property is built up brand new from inside and out, which really gives us a good opportunity to not only get a property as close to new as possible, but you're still being able to buy it far below previous market value. Now, the reason they're selling it is simply because they are not landlords. They don't necessarily look for the long-term cash flow opportunity of the property. They buy properties in bulk from the bank and they sell it. Obviously they're making a small margin on the property because just like any other product, they're putting up the expenses for purchasing the property from the banks. They're paying for the renovations. They're paying for cleaning the title up, so you have a clean, what's called warranty deed. They're also doing things such as paying for our side of the business, their selling expenses, their marketing expenses, their market research. All of those things that are basically taken care of for you are in the finished product. Now, typically they're going to make anywhere from $3,000 to $7,000 a property, but even with their little profit margin built into it, you're still getting it far below actual market value. Regarding the financing, will the owners consider selling financing, and if so, what are their terms? Typically, they don't necessarily consider seller financing. That is a stretch that they don't necessarily like to consider, just because they deal with cash buyers 99.9% of the time. So the market is so hot right now that they don't necessarily have to offer something such as seller financing. Now, if they were to consider seller financing, it would be on a very small amount, maybe $7,000 to $10,000 to $12,000 on the back end. That would obviously be paid for by your rent. But at the end of the day, they'll still hold the note, and that's not what they want to do. They want to move on to the next property. So, and seller financing on your end as well too. While obviously it's like we said on the phone, it's better to use other people's money. It's not necessarily the most optimal for your purpose. Your next question: we would like to set up a corporate entity for this property. Do you have contacts that will be able to set this up for us? Absolutely. We can forward you to our accountant who specializes in forming LLCs for our foreign investors. Typically, when you own a handful of properties, it's obviously very good for tax purposes and personal liability protection when you have an LLC. So it costs $200–300 or so to form an LLC, and then after you have it all set up and rolling, you sign over the assets into that company, and so you'll obviously own the company, and the company owns the assets. So it is a like I said, an extra level of protection for you. And then your next question, I see the property tax rate is quite high. Why is this? The property tax rate on this property specifically isn't too high. It's still rather low when you compare it to other properties of the nature throughout the country. For instance, a property like this, if it was in New York or Massachusetts or New Jersey, the property taxes would probably be $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a year. But at about $1,500 a year for this property, they are rather low, which is pretty much a standard. Typically, the rule of thumb is 1% of the value of the property you purchase for is going to be roughly where your taxes are. So, at about $150,000 for this property, $1,500 a year or so is going to be what you would expect in taxes, and they hit it pretty much head on this one. And that pretty much hits all your questions as I'm looking at your email again. One other quick question that you had in there: how long will it take to rent it out? And do you have a property management also? Tenants are already lined up to move into this property. I believe their move-in date is January 20th, whatever weekend that is. Let me see. I'm looking at my calendar here. That is the 18th and 19th. So they're moving in about 2 weeks' time. Our property management company is a third-party company called Rentals Orlando. They specialize in foreign investors, so they have a great portfolio of properties that they manage in Central Florida. They work exclusively with us now. Before, they used to work with quite a few different companies, but we fortunately have provided them with so much business that they work exclusively with our clientele, and they do a tremendous job taking care of everything from front to back in terms of, obviously qualifying the tenants, as I mentioned earlier, to collecting your rent, dealing with the day-to-day operations of the property, inspecting the property 4 times a year, so you get quarterly inspection reports done, and you get a monthly statement with money in, money out. That all is an online portal. I forget the exact name of the software they use, but it's really cool. It basically says all your properties, how much rental is coming in, expenses, if any, how much money was deposited, when it was deposited. So everything is very easily to keep on top of. You can exactly see what's happening with your property at all times. So as standard property management company fees is 10% of rental income. That's pretty much industry norm, whether you're in Florida or Texas or California. The average property management company is going to do 10% of rental income. So that is their rate. You are obviously welcome to use any property management company you choose to. Obviously, our recommendation and our faith is in Rentals Orlando specifically. So if you have any other questions, forward them on to me. I look forward to answering them for you. And let me know what you think of this property specifically. All right, Christian, speak soon.